Yeah, thanks, Paul, and thanks for everyone still being online. It's been a long run, and hopefully we'll be showing you something very exciting that you can take home after the session. So just waiting for Gary to pop up the slides. In the meanwhile, we'll do a quick introduction, and as Gary is busy, I'll start with myself. So my name is Tim Swaag. Actually, that's not how you pronounce my surname in Dutch. It sounds a bit different, but it sounds a lot cooler this way in English, so I'll use that. So my job at LiveTiles is really to work as an innovation executive. So really working with our customers, think about what is their business strategy, what would they like to achieve using technology, and how can we help them innovate their business and business models using LiveTiles solutions. Gary, over to you for a quick intro.
Yeah, thanks, Tim. Yeah, my name is Garry Sinclair. I'm a senior customer solution specialist here at LiveTiles, which basically means my role is to help our customers and partners get the most out of their investment in the LiveTiles products and services. And yeah, thanks for sticking around for this session. Really looking forward to doing a deep dive demo with Tim. Back to you, Tim.
Yeah, great, thanks. So to start off with this session, we first would like to kind of reiterate what is obviously being said in the past couple of sessions, but really going into, before we go into the deep dive, really take you back to what was again the vision of our company, the vision of LiveTiles. So the vision of LiveTiles in our eyes is really to revolutionize the way that humans interact with technology and also the way technology interacts with humans. Now, my translation for this is that, we see so many cloud applications popping up. Cloud makes it so easy for us as a company to just onboard something, pull out the credit card, buy something, and try to solve a specific solution. But it actually complicates our digital workplace, and we find ourselves battling with so many different applications, working with so much information in the digital workplace. So how can we really, bring that all together using not the old outdated internet technology, but really the new workplace experience, and get people to interact with technology in a way that it actually offers value to you as your company, but also to people on an individual level. So today, we'll be going through all of what we offer in our new intranet and experience platform. But obviously, it's not always been the same using the internet in the past. The intranets of old days are very static, really a way of communicating top down, sending information to people, and not always hitting the right spot when it comes to engaging with these people. Because if you're working in a communications team, you might have a very different need for information and news than when you're working in an HR team, or whether you're a frontline worker. So over the past couple of years, we've seen some gradual steps in terms of the way the internet has evolved in the past couple of years. But really with LiveTiles, we like to take it to the next level and really make that big jump to what we call the intelligent experience platform. So really make sure that data is available across every different channel and different app that you work in, and making sure that all the information that you see is actually meaningful for you. So the way we do that is actually threefold. We've got three USPs that we would like to cover. Go ahead, Gary. So the first one is really about omnipresence. So as I mentioned, if you're working in Teams, or if you're working in SharePoint, or whether you're working in Slack or an email browser or online application, you always want to make sure you've got quick access to your applications and information. And obviously bringing all the information together that's in your digital workplace makes it a lot easier to not having to switch around between different applications, which means that you get a higher productivity, you'll be more focused because you don't have to switch between different apps, really having everything at the central place where you would like to work from, but still having access to everything that's around you in terms of information and apps in your digital workplace. Now, the second thing that we like to offer and what we really spend a lot of time on developing is personalization. So really making sure that everything that you then see in terms of apps and information is relevant for you. Again, based on your role within the company, whether you're working in HR, communications, whether you're a frontline worker, whether you're doing administration, you should always see what is relevant for you. By doing that, we keep customers and employees engaged on the platform. So really making sure that whenever you go to your intranet, whatever you see there is always relevant for you, which means that you actually always come back to it, and that you will always have something to work with that is relevant for you. And the third pillar that I always explain is employee happiness. So within LiveTiles, within our organization, we really take care of our people, but we always like to think of it, when we develop our solutions as well. So really thinking about how can we make employees more happy? Well, there's basically a quick rule of thumb that we can use. Employees are always more happy when, whenever they do their job, they can actually add value to it. They are able to achieve their results and their goals. So really what we try to do is make life a lot easier for employees. Really think about how can we take away any of the work that does not add value to your job at that time. For example, filling out your work hours, or maybe you've got an issue with your laptop and you want to make sure that it gets fixed. It actually doesn't add value to your core function within the role that you're in. So why not give that job to a digital assistant, or use smart workflows? By doing this, we actually free up your time, which means that you can add more value within your job, which means you'll be able to achieve your results in a better way, which means in the end you'll be a more happy employee. So as you've seen in the past couple of presentations, we've really taken this to reorganize the LiveTiles internal structure of teams and the way that we develop our apps. So today in the deep dive, we'll be going through all of these different applications that we've got, and we'll actually show you how they've become to one meaningful platform that actually adds value to your job. So without any further ado, we'll be handing it over to Gary, who'll be taking you through the deep dive. So yeah, Gary, load up the front page and let's go for it.
Okay, so that should be coming through now.
Yep, I can see. And maybe good to start off with, we're seeing a homepage here. Give us some description of what we actually are seeing here, and how does it relate to the Microsoft technology? Because obviously that is a big question we always get.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Tim. Yeah, so we're looking at the LiveTiles intranet, what could be a typical homepage or landing page setup for many of our customers. And what you see is really us providing a solution for helping employees find and connect with expertise, information, depending on whatever they're looking for. But it's all about increasing their efficiency, simplifying their work life, and trying to basically cut out the noise that's often found within online solutions. So the components that we provide essentially help employees do that, and really just introducing first of all what's on the screen just now. What we see, first of all, you also got some quite common components like the mega menu at the top there. And then down the left-hand side, you can see this strip of icons, which is the LiveTiles Everywhere, which you've heard about earlier on. And we're going to come back to that a bit later on as well. Now, obviously, we've applied some corporate identity here, some branding in terms of the colors and the logo and so on. And this is individual for each of our customers. And we also provide a nice way of injecting that corporate identity within your internet solution. So focusing on the actual content on the page, what you see is really, it's a mixture of common content, like as in common for all users and employees, and also targeted content. So we're trying to kind of bring this nice blend of providing a common culture and common source of information for all employees. And that's what you see with the corporate news slider at the top there. It's rotating through the 5 newest news items. You also notice at the top, there's a message from the CEO. So this would also be seen by all employees within the organization. So really, you could say that with the corporate news slider, corporate communications has got a voice out to all employees, but even the CEO has got a direct voice out to all employees. And what's nice about it is that these posts here can be opened up by the user, by the employee. They can read through the post and they can actually engage directly with the CEO by adding comments directly into the box here. I guess normally they want to write something quite nice when communicating with the CEO. but really encouraging employees to kind of engage and share their thoughts. So scrolling down on the page a bit, what you see is getting more into the targeted experience that we provide. On the left-hand side is our Noticeboard component, and this is showing us lots of different news articles based on my profile. So it's showing me, it's showing a different display of news articles for each individual user. And I think we're going to come back and discuss that in a bit more detail later. On the right-hand side, we also see some more targeted or personalized content. We see my policies to read. So these are employee handbook articles that have been created by human resources, and they've been marked as relevant for me by virtue of my profile within Active Directory. It's possible to target these employee handbook articles at relevant groups of people within the organization. Further down, in terms of collaboration, we provide convenient links into Teams workspaces. It could also be SharePoint team sites, really making it easy for employees to find their way back to these teams where they've been working on collaboration on projects and so on. And then further down on the page, another web part showing my recent documents. So the Office 365 platform, using the graph behind the scenes, it knows what kind of activity that you're engaged in, and it's able to use that information to present to you the latest things you've been working on. Now, getting back to answer Tim's question about the kind of blend of SharePoint and LiveTiles components, well, that's exactly what you're seeing here on the page. We're actually showing mostly LiveTiles components here because we have the rich targeting functionality. But also on the page is the My Recent Documents web part, which is provided by SharePoint out of the box. So we're using a blend of web parts, and that's what we fully endorse. That's what we recommend. You've got the best of both worlds. You don't miss out on SharePoint when you install LiveTiles Intranet. You can mix and match to find the best fit for you. And it really is about finding the best fit for you. I mean, everything on the page here is basically a web part or a widget that you can bring onto the page and drag around into different places. You can see here when I put the page into edit mode, I can kind of edit the web parts and do the different things. For example, I can choose a different template for some web parts so that the news is perhaps presented in an alternative fashion like this. So we provide different configuration options, and whether you're configuring a LiveTiles web part, as we are here, or whether you're configuring a SharePoint web part, the editor's experience is the same. You know, we've got this common configuration panel on the right-hand side, and it should be seamless for a page editor. There's no kind of additional extra training requirements in that regard.
So it sounds like that, yeah. So it sounds like this is really, a great way of, designing your architecture, making use of both the Office 365 license that you've already purchased, really getting a good return on your investment there, but also obviously making use of the best features that we have to offer through LiveTiles. So you just lightly touched upon it already, which is the news section. So we see both the corporate news and what we've designed as to be the Noticeboard. Obviously very important feature for a lot of the intranet functionality and customers using intranets. So what can we offer in terms of personalization that adds on top of the features that is already existing within SharePoint Modern? Sure.
So getting back to the targeted news component here, the Noticeboard, I think I mentioned earlier on that this offers a targeted experience. So every user has a different picture within this collection of news posts. And essentially what we do is we allow a system administrator to configure different channels of news to different groups of people. So you can see here that there's a channel here called Everyone, which has got a post here called "Are you an XN super user?" So this channel would be kind of visible for everybody. That's why it's called the Everyone channel. But a bit further down on the page, there's a channel called North America. And this channel would only be visible by default to employees or staff members who are located in North America. and that's obviously stored in their profile with an Active Directory, and that's why it's visible on the page. So this is what you call targeting, and that's something that you can set up in a configuration. But in terms of personalization, what a user can do is using the channel selection options within the page here, and I'm just going to do a quick refresh actually. Within the toolbar there, it's possible to go in and adjust the channels that are being displayed. So there's different channel subscriptions. And what you see here is basically a configuration that shows you this kind of mixture of kind of mandatory channels and personalization or opt-in channels. The mandatory ones are the ones with the gray boxes here. So because I'm based in North America, I'm not able to remove the North America channel. But what I can do is I can opt into some additional channels, such as marketing, for example, or any of the other ones that are available in this configuration. So I'll just add on the marketing channel and click Save. And then what I see is I see a marketing post appearing within my feed. And that's basically the personalization possibility that's available. Now, what's also interesting here is that, and this is actually quite a new feature within this component, is that it's also possible to kind of slice and dice through this collection of information, this collection of different channels and different types of content. We've got news posts here, but we've also got video content. We've got posts on different kinds of channels. And what's this is kind of hot off the press, what's really been introduced to the Noticeboard is the ability for the user now to kind of help them refine this content and kind of apply some filtering. So what I'm going to do here quickly now is I can go into this search refiner, and I could, for example, come into the filtering option here and then choose, for example, let me choose one of the social channels called Running Club Seattle, and then click Show Results. And what you'll see is the Noticeboard filters out all the other channels automatically. I can also edit this and perhaps do some kind of filtering based on the content type instead. So maybe I know that a video has been posted recently, but I couldn't remember what channel it was on. So why not clear that filter and then take a look at the different content types, apply video, and let's add this one, and then let's do the show results. And there you can see all of the different video content that has been added in, showing me the newest 9 videos here on the screen. So nice new functionality that's just come out in the latest version of LiveTiles Internet. I hope that conveys both the targeting and the personalization aspect.
Yeah, for sure. And it's very cool to see that, you know, not just news, but also videos and maybe even other content can be shared. But I'm pretty sure that we'll dive a little bit deeper into what else the Noticeboard can offer for organizations in the next couple of minutes. So moving on from news, collaboration is obviously something that is really big at the moment. You know, people working from home due to the COVID situation, and we're experiencing, you know, having to do a lot more work online rather than, you know, being in the office. We really focus a lot on development of that part of the digital workplace as well. Can you show us some features of, for example, Teams and SharePoint and how we bring it all together?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you can actually see it on the screen at the moment. Actually on the homepage, there's this web part which is showing me my favorite workspaces. And for sure, we believe that the experience for the users should be as seamless as possible. You know, in terms of being able to navigate from the internet, whether it's the homepage or somewhere else, being able to navigate back into the Teams where collaboration and work on projects is taking place. Really, companies are experiencing an explosion in the use of MS Teams, and we're trying to provide a way of integrating the Teams into the internet in a nice way, so it's quick for users to find their way back to them, and also convenient for users to ask or to basically request for new teams to be provisioned. But on the other hand, organizations want to have an element of control on this. You don't want it to spiral out of control with dozens and hundreds of teams being provisioned. So we're trying to kind of meet that need, you could say, and as well as providing these neat little kind of shortcuts back into the workspaces that you can see on the home page here. We also have, and I'm just going to switch to another tab here. We also have other ways of viewing these collaboration spaces by virtue of showing additional pieces of information that we've collected about these workspaces to make it more obvious and clear to the users what's the purpose of that team, what's the purpose of that collaboration space. So you can see on the screen now that we have a list of workspaces, and there's certain pieces of metadata are being displayed alongside them. It could be a department name, an area name, it could be a date of audit, and so on. This is part of the configuration that customers do. They decide for themselves what kind of metadata they wish to collect alongside these workspaces. Now, the nice thing about having the metadata there is, apart from making it a bit more clear what the purpose of each team is, it's also possible to use them for sorting. You know, if you want to maybe kind of adjust the view to perhaps show some other teams higher up within the row, the way it's being shown. But also you can apply filtering. So what I could do is say only show me where the area is marketing, for example, and it will filter that view of workspaces, and I can quickly find my way back to all the marketing related teams. Now, in terms of accessing the team itself, obviously I can just click on the link here and it will take me into that team within Teams. What about provisioning new teams? How does that work? Well, what we provide is a very convenient wizard, you could say, for provisioning new teams. Users can click on this add button in the toolbar for the workspaces. And what we present to the user is a list of different collaboration solutions. Again, this can be fine-tuned and configured by each individual customer, and that's exactly what they do. Some customers might offer one option, which is MS Teams, because that seems to be the most popular collaboration solution at the moment. But you may also wish to offer a variety of solutions, as you can see here, perhaps a Teams offering, perhaps a modern team site, a SharePoint team site, where you just need to collaborate on some documents. So the idea is that you describe the different solutions here in a way that's meaningful for the user, for the business user. They then choose what solution, what collaboration solution they want. And then they're presented with different metadata options. And these metadata options, again, are configurable for each customer. There's different types of metadata you can collect. It can be a drop-down. It can be an upload field for an image. It can be keywords that are associated with SharePoint term sets. So you can tag the teams. You can apply a date of audit, and so on. There can also be checkboxes and so on. So it's basically just a case of filling out the metadata, also include who the owner or the moderator is, who the members or the contributors are, and then create. And then behind the scenes, LiveTiles will do the provisioning of the chosen solution, whether it's MS Teams or the SharePoint team site. Now, sorry, go ahead, Tim.
Yeah, so it seems like a great way to really manage all of the data and teams and sites that you might have within your digital workplace, both for the admins, that might want to archive something after a project has been finished so that it can clean up the Teams and SharePoint environment, but also to end users, right?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. That's exactly what you can put to work when you've collected this metadata. And you can see on the screen there's a field called date of audit. That information is available within our data store, our database. And because the LiveTiles intranet comes with a rich set of APIs, it is really straightforward to integrate workflows with the information in this database. So you could, by virtue of using Power Automate within the Office 365 suite of products, Power Automate could be used to quite easily set up a scheduled workflow that checks on a regular basis, are there any workspaces that have gone beyond the date of audit? And then if any are found, they could, you could use the workflow to then send a message to the owner, for example. Hey, are you still using this workspace? If so, then click here. Otherwise, it's going to be archived, and you won't be able to use it any longer.
Awesome. Great to see this kind of governance and provisioning tool being added, so helping both the employees and admins. Now over to something that obviously has been discussed quite a bit today, which is LiveTiles Everywhere. You quickly mentioned it in the introduction, but can you tell us a bit more about the bar on the left and what it offers?
Sure. So LiveTiles Everywhere, you've heard about that a few times today already. It's coming soon as a new kind of standalone service. But if you've already invested in LiveTiles Intranet, then you already have LiveTiles Everywhere. It's part of what was known as Wisdom. And yes, it's available on the left-hand side. And it is this sequence of widgets that you see down the left-hand side of the screen. Now, I kind of refer to it as the kind of Swiss Army knife of the LiveTiles Intranet. It has so many possibilities, so many potential features. It can be implemented in a small size or a large size, like you see on the screen just now. You don't necessarily need to offer so many options, but it's really gives you the kind of framework, the foundation for providing whatever kind of content or functionality you deem to be relevant for your users. And really, it's typically seen in some of the customers that I've been working with, for example, as a real kind of productivity booster, because the Everywhere panel here, it's available no matter what page you're on. It's always one click away. So if you're navigating around the internet and suddenly you want to, for example, find a link to one of the applications that you use to do some of your work, perhaps a link into Salesforce or into another system, you can find it via LiveTiles Everywhere. Perhaps you want to do a people search. You can find that within one click via LiveTiles Everywhere. LiveTiles Everywhere, it also comes with, if I click on the top icon there, it comes with this nice user-friendly welcome page. And this is also a relatively new feature to what was known as the Power Panel. This can also be branded and given your own corporate identity. So you can provide your own corporate logo here, for example, your own corporate preferred colors. And when you open the welcome page, it gives you a summary down here of all the content or functionality that's available. It's essentially the same options that you see down the left-hand side, actually. Now, some typical scenarios, I think I've mentioned a couple already, but I like to call it, for example, a productivity tool. So you could call this one the productivity panel, which contains the links to various applications that you need to get your job done. The great thing about this is that the links are targeted as well. A bit like I mentioned in the Noticeboard, where the content on the Noticeboard is targeted. Well, these links are also targeted based on your profile. So you can ensure that content creation links, for example, wouldn't be visible to users who are not responsible or engaged in creating content. It could be doing something like a people search. It could be engaging in, just waiting for that one to load. It could also be engaging in collaboration workspaces, which I've already showed you from a page. Any of those components that you can see on SharePoint pages, they can essentially be embedded within LiveTiles Everywhere. That's how flexible it is. So you can combine both LiveTiles web parts. You can place SharePoint out-of-the-box web parts in there. But even if you develop custom web parts based on the SPFX framework, you can also embed those in there as well. So LiveTiles Everywhere really is that, yeah, as I say, flexible Swiss Army knife that can help you and your users both aggregate the information they need, but also access the functionality, the people search, the apps, and so on.
So it's showing a really good job of bringing all the information together out of different applications here we specifically see some items within the collaboration spaces, or you just shown some apps that we can access. But the big question we always get as well is, what if I would like to work from Microsoft Teams? You know, if I do a lot of project work, I might not be traveling to the SharePoint environment that much. I might actually want to use Microsoft Teams because it offers the better functionality. How do we make sure we get that internet functionality across to Microsoft Teams?
Yes, and that is that's a great question, and unfortunately we have a great answer, because LiveTiles Everywhere, which I guess has a foundation of being a SharePoint component, you could say. It evolved. I guess it was around 6 months ago or so now, and that functionality, that component, has now been made available as an app that can be installed into Teams, into MS Teams. And rather than me talking about it, let me show you. So I've now just jumped into Teams, where you can see a list of different teams on the screen there. And then on the left-hand side app panel, you can see at the top there's a link to Everywhere. So I'm just going to click on there. And what you will see is LiveTiles Everywhere loading into Teams. It opens by default with a welcome page that I just showed you from within the SharePoint intranet. And all of the functionality that I explained to you, all of the links to different apps, they are available within Teams. In a second, there we go. All of the people search functionality is available within Teams. All of the workspaces are available within Teams. So you're immediately bringing all of these functions directly to within Teams. But where I think the main value add is today within Teams is this next example, where it's also possible to create a news dashboard, a corporate news dashboard. It can show corporate news. It could be global news, as shown on the left, which is the same for everyone. It could be local news, which is your more targeted news that I showed you on the example homepage before. It could be a social feed. It could be less formal content. You can pick and choose, but bringing this news content directly into Teams, it means that employees can avoid this kind of application switching cost that Simon was referring to earlier on in his presentation. Employees today, they're in Teams from 9 o'clock in the morning until 5 in the afternoon. They're engaged in online meetings. They're collaborating on projects. They're not necessarily remembering to go back into the SharePoint intranet to catch up on the latest corporate news or targeted news. So having this directly within Teams, there's a far greater chance that employees are going to check in, you know, on what's going on, check in on the pulse of the organization, what's going on within my list of targeted news items. And all the functionality that I showed you before is here. I can open these Noticeboard items and they pop up directly within the screen. And then from directly within Teams, you can encourage employees to engage and provide comments and so on. They can like. All the full functionality is now available directly within Teams. So I hope that gives you the impression that we see the need to provide access to vital pieces of information and functionality, no matter where the user is, whether they're in SharePoint, whether they're in Teams, and actually in the future, it could be Outlook, it could be somewhere completely out with the Microsoft ecosphere. As soon as the possibility is there, then we'll be looking to deploy LiveTiles Everywhere to that platform.
Great. And I hear you talk a lot about personalization, which I obviously mentioned in the intro as well. Something that really helps us to make people engage more with the platform because everything they see is relevant for them. It means that we use a lot of data as well within the digital workplace. So obviously with LiveTiles Quantum, we've now got a product team that really focuses on using the data and gets the most out of the data that's available in your workplace. And honestly, we see a lot of companies, think of Netflix, for example, using data to improve their business model. model. So can you give an example of how, for example, the personalized data from profiles can be used to improve businesses and to improve, for example, innovation of finding expertise? What kind of solution have we built for that?
Yeah, so it's clear that profiles within Active Directory are key to the targeting experience that I've been showing you so far, both in terms of the targeting of the news and application links. But it's also obviously got a great benefit for people search. When employees are trying to connect with other employees to find them based on their job title or their skill set, that's all kind of fundamental. And basically, I guess typically the targeting functionality is based. It might be based. You might think of it. You would want to target based on a department, for example, a group of people who share the same department, or a group of people who share the same function or something. But you could also create targeting based on skill sets, where you kind of offload the responsibility for updating that information in the profile to the employees themselves, because they know themselves when they have attained a new skill. They know when they've completed the course. Or even done the online training or whatever it is. So what we provide a solution for is for kind of automating this kind of, I guess you could call it, laborious task of reminding employees to keep their profiles up to date. And for that purpose, we have something called the Hyperfish bot, and it's a bot because it's an automated tool that runs up in the cloud, and basically, yeah, goes out and nudges employees to keep their profiles up to date. I can show you actually kind of how that looks. If I just jump back into the browser here. So what I'm showing you here is the administration kind of interface for the bot. And without getting into too much detail, I just wanted to give you an idea of some of the functionality that's available within the bot, because you can see here that as I just kind of scroll down, so this is the Hyperfish administration panel, where you can obviously choose whether or not you want to implement the bot. If you turn it on, then well, you can give the bot a name. You can call it whatever you want. You can give a couple of options on how the bot actually contacts people. The default is by email. You can give the bot a personality, so it can be relaxed, it can be a standard personality, or it can be more formal. And this is what determines the tone of the messages that the bot is going to send to the members of staff. And then the tenacity is more about the frequency. How often is this bot going to kind of nudge you or bother you to go in and update your profile? There's even a profile validation option, and this is more about reminding employees to basically check all of their profile. Not the kind of daily reminder to fill in something that's missing, but maybe once every quarter or once every half a year. Check all of your profile and make sure it's up to date, because your phone number might have changed, or your address may have changed, or something like that. So that's kind of some of the options available, and that just gives you an idea of how you can configure the bot. And so how does it sort of look, or how does it interact with the user? Well, I've got an example here in the inbox where I've received an email from the bot. This actually came in earlier today, and it's telling me that our company directory is missing some information. There's a piece of data called past projects, which is missing data. And then it provides me a convenient link here to go in and update the past project. So I, as a user, I can then click on this directly from the email, and it will take me into the Hyperfish app, and then allow me to update that piece of profile. Now, that's just loading up just now, and there you go. You can see my profile information on the screen, and you can see at the bottom that the past project is empty. So then I can
So
just edit it and update it.
it's a really smart way, not having to navigate to Delph all the time. And by the looks of it, you can add your skills past projects, which are not values that we can normally add to the Microsoft ID, because this solution integrates with the Microsoft ID, right? So it's really a good way to further build out your profile and make it a lot easier to find people based on expertise, or maybe the projects they've worked on, or customers or projects they're interacting with at the moment. Seems like a really smart solution. And can you tell me, do we bring any more data into that profile of employees? Can we, for example, link into HR systems or finance systems that might have profile information as well?
Yes, absolutely. That's also possible. So you can pull in data from external sources and enrich the profile with that information. So that's absolutely possible. And then what's also worth highlighting is that there's also let me just hop into the people search function here, because this provides a convenient interface for employees to find each other. What you can do is you can, using the input box here, you can, for example, you could type in a name, you could type in a skill, let's say SharePoint, for example, and find employees who have got that within their profile. There's also possibilities to you can configure these different filtering options as well. So you could just kind of pick a skill from a drop-down, for example. You can even pick a department from a drop-down, and it will give you a list of all the employees who are in that department within the directory. Now, what's quite nice as well is that you can configure how the information looks, in terms of you can decide what different profile attributes or properties you want to show in this display here. You can also click on a property, or sorry, click on a person, and then see a more fuller version of the profile. And again, you can choose exactly what pieces of information you want to show on the screen. And what's really nice is the integration of the organization graph. This again is based on the data within Active Directory, using the manager fields to build the hierarchy. But what's really nice is you can see for a chosen person who they refer to and who refers to them. You can also use it to navigate around the structure of the organization. So I could go up one level to Sunny, and then perhaps navigate down into another kind of middle manager there, and see how they're placed within the structure. And then so yeah, I just feel that it's a nice kind of integrated visual way of kind of understanding the structure of an organization.
And all this data is then being used again to optimize news, workflows, automation, stuff like that, right?
Yes.
It's all being reproduced in the LiveTiles solutions.
Yes, absolutely. It's fundamental to all that rich targeting functionality that we offer. Yep. Yeah. Absolutely.
Another big part of the LiveTiles Quantum product team is the bot solution. I'm pretty sure we have seen some examples in the past presentation about the COVID bot. Can you share something in the demo as well?
Yeah, sure. And that's another scenario that we've implemented in the LiveTiles Everywhere. It's actually this one here. So this is a live, you could say, variation of what David was talking about earlier on in his presentation. So really nice. You can embed our bot framework directly into the LiveTiles Everywhere, and then offer that service to users, and really develop these nice little conversational tools to kind of reach an ultimate goal. Now, this example, if I just kind of click Let's Begin and get it underway, is going to take us through a few kind of questions and answers, basically yes/no questions. That's kind of one kind of simple way to design it, but of course you can make them more complex than that depending on the scenario. But you could use these bots to implement anything from making a travel request to asking for time off from a manager and so on. Even provisioning a workspace, actually, you could imagine could be configured into the bot framework. But the idea is that you kind of answer the bot's questions here, which is trying to guide me through this kind of tree of knowledge that it has behind it. I'm just going to say yes there. The kind of ultimate goal is for it to end up giving me some good and relevant advice. And I think if I just continue a couple of clicks more, I'll say yes to that one, and then I'll say no there. It's going to reach a conclusion at some point, and then basically the flow will have reached a conclusion, and I'll have got my goal. So there you go. Based on the answers I've given the bot, it's telling me that I'm at moderate risk and that I should seek medical attention. And it's even conveniently given me a couple of links here where I can, for example, click on this link, and it will take me off to an external website for some additional information.
I can imagine that this functionality can be used quite broadly in terms of, if my laptop would break down, I would want a replacement. I can request one through IT support, for example, or I've got something noteworthy in terms of news that I might want to share with the comms manager. These bots can really guide me in the right direction and take away all the hassle of having to look for the right people or for the right web page to go to. Really having something right at your fingertips to make you more productive and obviously giving you a way to really spend more time and effort into your core business and the reason why you're working at the company. So it's a great example. Talking about being productive and staying engaged, we find, a lot of the times, Gary, you and I, we've both been speaking to a lot of organizations that frontline workers are mainly overlooked when it comes to communication and engagement. So the reason why is a lot of the times they don't have a Microsoft license because they're too expensive to roll out to all of the tens of thousands of employees that might be working mobile, or at least not in head office, maybe in stores, for example, of retail organizations. We've been thinking long and hard about how can we bring communication to them and really take away the gap that is there between head office and retail stores, for example. So really, how can we get them involved without having to purchase that Microsoft license, which is obviously quite expensive sometimes? Can you show a bit more of the LiveTiles Reach application and tell about how we can bring communication to the frontline worker?
Yes, absolutely. So let me just switch screen to this one. This is our LiveTiles Reach app, and I'm showing it in the browser in responsive mode, as if we were on an iPhone X, as you can see at the top there. And this gives you a very realistic idea as to how it looks on a mobile device. And LiveTiles Reach is specifically built from the ground up for mobile devices. It renders beautifully on mobile devices, and it's a really convenient app and way for corporate communications to kind of extend their arm out to these frontline workers, as you say. So you can really kind of class this as a pocket internet for people who are on the move. And like you said, because it doesn't require the investment in Office 365 licenses, it really is a kind of value for money option as well. If you've got a group of licenses for desktop workers, you don't need to make that extra investment to reach all of your frontline workers. It can be deployed. So this service that's just running here just now, it's a true software as a service running in the cloud. So it can be, all the infrastructure is ready, it's in place, and an organization that signs up to LiveTiles Reach can be up and running within a matter of minutes because all the infrastructure is in place. It just requires a connection to your organization's Azure Active Directory, and you're ready to go. Users themselves can use their own device, bring your own device. All you need to do is download an app onto the device, sign in with your organizational email address, and then you're up and running. So super deployment model, really quick to get up and running. And yeah, let me just kind of show you quickly some of the functionality that's available within here.
Before you show the functionality, because you mentioned something very interesting, that is, we can download the app and you can sign up. So we actually allow, if you want to sign up external users that are not in the ID of the company, which obviously makes it fit to have your frontline workers there. But another scenario could be parents of students, that might want to sign in and read the news on the college or university their kids are going to. Is that something that's feasible as well?
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah. So you can invite externals into your kind of app subscription. That's fully supported, and basically anyone who has an email address can receive a registration invitation, and that's 100% supported. Absolutely. Awesome. So you can extend the reach even further beyond your frontline workers to part-time employees, perhaps, who are not registered on the internal IT system. It could be consultants or whatever. Lots of extra scenarios are then covered in. So the way this works is when you're on the mobile device, you've got this burger menu at the top. So when I click on that, it shows you, well, first of all, you can see the kind of corporate identity that's been applied here. There's the LiveTiles logo and the name, and also the colors. All of this is also configurable, so of course, for each individual organization. And that takes as well, it's really super simple to apply a corporate identity. You can then see all the different functions available. You've got some news at the top. You've got posts, and I'll just maybe click quickly through these, and then I'll go back to news in a little bit more detail. Posts is a peer-to-peer communication mechanism. So users can, basically any user can come in here and share something that will then be seen by other users. So, I could say, for example, are you going to the LiveTilesX conference or something? And then I could send that in, and then other users could see that, and then they might add a reply, and you can even add mention other users as well. So the @mention is the way of using the @ symbol and then typing in their name, and they will get a notification that they've been mentioned, a bit like you see within social media platforms.
It's a great way to share weekly rosters, for example, when you're in a retail organization and you're a manager, you want to hand them out.
Yeah, absolutely. And then moving on, there is also some more static content can be provided here. So if you've got some handbooks, some guidelines, content that's not really changing necessarily on a day-to-day basis, but vital kind of for knowledge sharing, for making sure that your people on the move have got access to the information that they need to do their jobs, then those can also be added in here. There is also a list of events which can be configured, and the events have got registering and deregistering functionality built in. For each event, you can configure the number of seats available and so on if it's a physical event, or you can even link to a Teams meeting if it's an online event. So that's also really nice. And then at the bottom here, there's access to people. So you can engage in a people search directly from the app. And then any people that you find, you can add them to your list of favorites. So I've got 3 favorites here, and these would typically be the people that I'm in communication with every day. And what's nice about this, when you're on a mobile device, when you click on this call mobile, it will kind of automatically take you to the phone function on your mobile device and call that number for you. And likewise, if you click on the email address, it'll open the email client and make it really easy for you to send an email to the person. So that's a quick overview of the functionality that's available. And I just wanted to end on a little bit of detail about the news, because the news is obviously kind of where we started this conversation today. Keeping your employees engaged, keeping them in the know when they're on the move. That's fully available from within the app here. I can click on an article and see all the content. I can scroll down to the bottom. I can like the content if I think it's good. I can add a comment, obviously. I can also bookmark a news article if I didn't have time to read it right now, because I'm kind of busy with lots of stuff when I'm on the move. And when I do that, it will be available under the list of bookmarks, so I can come back and read it later. I can choose specific channels if I want to kind of filter based on the different channels that are configured. I can also go in and apply filtering actually on either channels, on who's the author of the post, on the date, even keywords, which are recurring tags, you could say, across the different channels. You can even filter based on those keywords. And all of this is fully configurable for each individual organization that uses the app. And then what's probably even more relevant is that you can, in these Corona times, you may need to quickly send a vital message out to all employees and have it appear very clearly on the mobile device. And these alert messages will appear in this fashion at the top, where you'll get this kind of red warning signal. And when I click on it and scroll down, you can even ask users to confirm whether they've received this notification. And that's really great for knowing, as an organization, hey, did we actually reach out to every employee who's on the move and make sure that they got this vital information? So I'll just confirm that I've read that one, and then that gets remembered by the system.
So the news that we've seen here is obviously very similar, or actually exactly the same news as what we've seen in the LiveTiles Internet solution, right? So the plugin feature is really there. Obviously, you can use the app separate as well, right? So there's both options to go.
Yes. Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. So that kind of leads us quite nicely into, if I just kind of switch back to Teams, actually. Yeah, I showed you everywhere earlier on. Reach is also available here. You may have spotted this earlier on. But all of this rich news content, it works great on mobile devices, but it's also available for your desktop workers who are working in Teams. And that is available here when I click on the news. So all the content that you just saw there, it should appear here. Yeah, there we go. And now employees who are doing their online meetings and so on, they can also quickly and conveniently keep up to date with the news that's going on within Reach.
Okay. Awesome.
I think there was one last thing I wanted to mention, and just that it's really kind of simple but also so powerful, and it's about the preferences here within the app, because it supports push notifications, and that's not something you can see when I'm demonstrating this in the browser. But when you're got your mobile device on you, you can go in here as a user and ask the app to give you a push notification to your mobile device for all of the different options that I showed you over the last 10 minutes or so. Now, also, if you feel you're getting too many notifications and you don't want that functionality, you can also switch it off as well. So we're not being too pushy.
Great. So I think that kind of concludes our demo. We've pretty much rounded off the hour. Garry, thank you so much for showing us everything in the demo, really going deep into the functionality. And it's great to see that you and the product team have worked so hard to bring all these different solutions together into one platform and really making it pay off and really getting the synergy between all of them. So thanks again for showing us, and everyone who's joined us up to now, thank you. And if you've got any questions, please leave them in the Q&A. We'll be more than happy to answer them for you. And back to you, Paul.